It's time for a change. Stop doing the same old stuff and then expecting new results. Stop recycling the same old people and then you expect a new result. It's stupid. It's ignorant. It's backwards.
All right, you rocking with the Crucial Combo podcast. Got my girl, your favorite survivor, Vivian Allen, back. Always a pleasure. How are you today?
Hey, I am excited. We got really good news for the village of Dolton. Clean House 2025 absolutely won by almost 88%. So we'll just say we give them 88% victory. She had 12% of the votes. We had 88%. So the residents spoke. We voted and we let Henyard know who we wanted in leadership going forward. So I feel great.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's been a long time coming. A long time coming for sure.
Yes,
So,
yes.
well, were you surprised by the numbers being 88 to 12 like that? Were you surprised, or was just kind of like,
My surprise came in at the 500 and some people that actually supports her still. And so I mean I get it. She do have supporters. She do have a slate of candidates that's on her side that have supporters. So that 12%, I guess, of the population of Dalton, they're okay with continuing corruption. But as far as with the numbers that pulled for Jason, I'm very impressed and I'm very proud of all of everybody that came out to show again Henyard that we don't want her back into office. So the numbers, that wasn't too surprising. I was just surprised at the people that actually voted for her to stay in office to continue to
at
bear about
12%, huh?
justice. Absolutely.
I ain't surprised by the numbers. I was not surprised by the numbers, but at the same time, it was like all the way up until the end. Tiffany seemed pretty confident, and she felt like I didn't think she was going to win. I know you got to keep up a certain level of face when you're running.
Absolutely.
But I didn't necessarily think she was going to lose by that bad. But then I
I
wasn't
did.
surprised either.
I knew it. Every time I went to the polls, they were giving me just like synopsis of the people that were coming out that was early voting and
Okay.
the sides that they were on. So it was very early onset that we knew that Clean House 2025 pretty much was going to win on a landslide. Now the
Hmm.
88%, now that wasn't predicted, but we knew that we had majority of the people on Clean House 2025 side. So
Okay.
yeah,
Now,
with
the other thing too is Viv was the voter turnout was pretty good. I think I heard a number of, was it 4,000 or 5,000 people turn,
That
something
was
like that?
probably I think it was less than 5,000. I know it was less than
Okay.
5,000, but we did
Okay.
have a compared to other numbers and other cities that had elections on the 25th, we did a really good turnout rate when it came to people actually getting out and voting for this election. Because remember, we have to come back April 1st and do it
Right.
all again.
Right.
So this was just for basically for us to say we don't want Henyard
Now
as
we're
a
gonna get to
candidate.
that. We're
Okay.
gonna get to that. We're gonna
Yes.
get to that because I know that we're gonna get to that. That's one of
Yes.
the main reasons why I want to talk to you. So, but from the outside looking in, most people, I won't say most people, I can't speak for most people, but I think a lot of people, they think Jason is the mayor of Dalton right now. You know what I'm saying? People who just kind of
Yeah.
listening and not quite tuned in.
Right.
Um,
Because
but
they might not understand the process on how the mayor is picked.
they probably don't, and I think based on how controversial the whole situation has been, it's kind of been like they've been kind of seeing Tiffany against the trustees and Jason for the past few years. So in their mind, they're like, oh, okay, this is the final showdown. So now, now with the voters. Now I know typically in a municipal election, and I could be wrong. I think typically in the municipal elections, it only is like maybe 20% of people come out. Most of the time, it's not like the majority of the town comes out for municipal elections. So Dalton being 22,000 people, you have to minus the people that are under 18, under voting age. So 4,000 is, you know, pretty good. That's like a
Yeah,
quarter of the.
it was. I think we did really well when it came to turnout, especially when you consider the numbers for like Calumet City, or excuse me, Riverdale, and other places that had election on the 25th. So we did have fairly decent numbers for that voters turnout, because if you remember when we voted her in originally, not that many people came out for that election cycle. And then remember how when she won the 82% of the vote, it was technically because of the way that the polls were based and because of who she was running against. So it's not like she had 82% and everybody was just like so involved in, her winning, but she was running up against like Ronnie Burge, which is the guy that she was trying to make her police chief, remember? So it's not like she was running against a real resident in Dalton making real numbers. She was running against somebody that was a plant that was set into Dalton to rob us, but it didn't work. He failed. But we got the worst of the two evils this time around, but
Well, and you're talking about COVID time too, so you add that on
absolutely.
top of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really
Absolutely.
low turnout, 9%, as everybody know last time. But so let's talk about what would you say is the energy around Dalton and Southland right now with this victory? What's the energy?
I think the vibe is hopeful, right? Everybody is hopeful that we have finally found the right ticket to be able to counter the corruption that we have experienced.
Hmm.
So I think right now everybody is just rejoicing the fact that our votes counted, our votes mattered, and we were able to allow Trustee Jason House and his slate, Trustee Edward Steve, Trustee Kiana Belcher, Trustee Tammy Brown, Trustee Brittany Norwood, Clerk Allison Key, they're all going to be able to come back and starting in 2025 of May and be able to help put our village back on track. That's very
Hmm.
important. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
understand this fight and what we've been fighting for, but they have to understand that the trustees saw early on what she was doing to the village, and they were able to stop her in so many different ways. And they don't get enough credit for what they have done. You understand what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
for them, those four, um, even with Edward Steve, they have done something that is historical, because a lot of cities, a lot of villages, a lot of just places around the world, they don't understand how to stop corruption. Once you get somebody in there, that's like Tiffany Henyard. That is one of the biggest. I use what Casundra said, cancer. She's like a cancer to our village, a cancer to our township. And everything that she have done has been something that has pretty much destroyed something within our community. So now
Yeah.
they have to go in there and they have to do surgery to remove all of these cancer cells out of our community and out of our township so that we can get back to thriving as a community. So I give them the biggest props that they can get for what they have been doing so far, and what job that they have to do going forward. Their job is not going to be easy.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Well, they definitely came together. You can feel the energy with that group,
Hmm.
and so I want to get into, okay, so before we get into the next step, right, of what's going to happen in Dalton, What did you think? Because I hadn't talked to you in a while. I know you've been busy, you've been doing your thing, and obviously your platform. You've been interviewing people and a lot of stuff going on. So, and you being interviewed as well. So we hadn't talked since the rap video and all that. It's like
Did
I was
we
kind of shocked.
discuss
My
that?
my,
Okay, I don't
my
remember us talking about that, but
Nah,
okay,
we
let's
didn't
go.
talk because we hadn't talked, and so and it's been a few weeks. So my sister
Right.
actually texted me when she saw the video. She texted me the video or inboxed me. She's like, "Is this real?" And I was like, yeah, it's, it's real." So
Yeah.
so, but Tiffany Henyard, she's gonna go down in history as probably one of the worst mayors. But I think a lot of the content
The
creators and
most
people who pays
entertaining mayor,
attention.
though. I think she definitely should win the most entertaining mayor of the year award. Like, if they
That's for
had one,
sure.
the most embarrassing, the worst, but the most entertaining. That's
Yes,
Tiffany.
she's been great for content, but definitely horrible for the city or the village of Dalton. Um,
Absolutely.
but what do you think is next for her? Because I know that when they interviewed her on the
Prison.
news, she was saying that she might run for higher office.
She can run for whatever she can, but she can't run from the feds. Let me tell you that much.
So you think jail is in the cards?
Jill is definitely part of her next succession plan. However, whatever office that Tiffany Aisha Henyard runs for next, she have to understand that you have built a brand behind your name.
Yeah,
Your name now is all over the country, not just the
maybe the
world.
world.
It's all over the country. Who in their right mind is going to say that I nominate Tiffany Aisha Henyard for any political office besides her goons that are trying their last ditch minute effort to steal from us? Other than that, nobody that wants a political career is going to vouch for her going forward. Now, you see how it ended for Michael Smith and Michael
I see.
Earhart. Yeah, they both lost because they vouched for her.
Yeah.
It's going to continuously happen because people are allowing her to put their political careers in a suicide state. Like,
Hmm.
she cannot run, I don't think, for anything else without scrutiny behind her name. So
Yeah, I
she
don't
should
think I don't think it's
probably
possible.
try and be a events coordinator like she's been doing
Hmm.
and sell events to the public, because running for office is not something that I know. If she's running for any office that I can elect her for, I wouldn't vote for her. Let me just
Well, I
say that.
think you're right. At this point, her name is just gone all over the world almost.
Her
You know what I'm
name
saying?
is
So,
is very unless she does like Clarence, what's the mayor of Harvey, his real name is Clarence, not
oh
yeah,
yeah,
I can't even think of his name right now, but
Clark.
Christopher Clark, yes. Unless she go and do like a name change. I heard that Kamal has a couple different aliases. I know Michael Smith really ain't Michael Smith real name. He just going by that for now, but he probably gonna change his name up again soon. But everybody know his face. Everybody know her face. So it's going to be hard
Well,
for
she made
her.
sure everybody knew her face.
Absolutely, because she's a brand. Remember, her name it speaks volume, and it does now, because now everybody knows who you are, sweetheart, and it's not a good thing when you're trying to be part of the political world and everybody knows you for corruption. Now, running for a bigger office, good luck. I seen a letter that somebody on her staff wrote for her, for Donald Trump to hire her for HUD. What?
Well, you know what? Hold on. Let me ask you a question about that, because now, because I want to get into Casundra Hopsin-Jordan, and
Right.
I watched some footage on her last night, and I was just like, wow, okay. So, Now, Tiffany, before we talk about Cassandra, Tiffany is supposed to be a Democrat, right? So
Right.
I think at this point, it might make sense. She might try to just go and just join the Republican Party or something like that. But there's been nothing that she's done, especially the last 2 years, to try to turn the narrative around. For whatever reason, it almost seemed like she crashed herself out even worse. Like every day, it seemed to get worse and worse and worse. And it was strange to me because I'm like, I did a reaction video on her, and I was like, okay, I'm not doing any more videos on Tiffany Henyard anymore. This is the final crash out after I saw the rap video. And I said to myself, I said, well, the only thing I think she could do is she could do a podcast or reality TV or some other private business where she's not the face of it, right? So where she went wrong, I think she really squandered a really good opportunity as far as even if you just look at it as a politician, as a starting point. Being the mayor of a small town is a great starting point if you want to have a political career. So I think she killed that opportunity. But I want to talk about the next steps because like I said, I think there's some people, obviously people who are tapped in, they don't think Jason is the mayor, but they're celebrating for obvious reasons, right? But people on the outside not clearly paying attention heavily, they're kind of like, oh, Jason won, and no one's talking about Cassandra Jordan. Like, as far as I don't see any of the content creators talking about her. I don't see the news talking about her. And in order for Jason to be the mayor, he has to run against her. Or for
Right.
her to be the mayor, she has to run against him, right? So
Right. And
I
she's
would
definitely talking.
I,
She's definitely talking.
she's talking, but I watched some footage on her last night, and again, I'm all for the process of campaigning and getting to know who people are. So I want to play some of her footage because I want to get into some of the stuff she said. I want to get your opinion about Dolton in general.
People, they're texting like, hey, Cassandra, are you still running the race? Because we just saw that Jason House won for mayor. Well, people, let me stop this narrative and let me clear it up. Jason House of Clean House 2025 is not the mayor of Dolton. He just won the primary, which gives him the opportunity to run against me in the general election for on April the 1st. So yeah, let's be clear. He is not the mayor of Dolton. And I know people saw all the celebrations and the parties and all that other stuff. And I personally think it was more of a celebration to celebrate Mrs. Henyard's downfall. And we have to be careful with celebrating someone else's downfall. Be real careful with that because as you celebrate someone else coming down, you got to understand there's people in the waiting on you to come down. So let's just be clear of that. So yeah, but no, he is not the mayor of Dolton. He just won the primary. But let's talk about the numbers. I'm just a firm believer, like the numbers, they were not all Jason House supporters. You got to understand how people come together for one common goal. And the common goal was to get rid of Tiffany. So a lot of people came out to vote against her, not meaning that those votes were actually for Jason House. You just happened to be the subject that was used to get rid of her.
I find Cassandra very interesting because I've never I've never seen anybody campaign like the way she's campaigning. So I find it interesting. But I wanted to touch on that narrative first. There's a couple other points I want to go through with you, but so the narrative is that okay, a lot of the voters came out. Of course, obviously they voted for Jason, right? And then there's people who came out who were really voting against Tiffany. So she's saying that they're not one and the same. There are people who came out who didn't want Jason either. They just voted for him because they didn't want Tiffany.
Now, me as a voter, if I don't like Tiffany, if I don't like Jason, and I know that Cassandra is the person that I want to vote for in April, Why would I leave my house February 25th to go, or any day before February 25th, and go and vote for somebody that I don't like, that I don't want in that seat, but I'm waiting on Casundra Hopsin-Jordan to actually be part of the election so I can then take my vote and switch it from Jason House to Casundra Hopsin-Jordan. Who in their right mind would think that way? Why would I leave my house? Now, I know that we all have our right to vote, and we can definitely abstain from voting if we want to vote. And I know that it does make sense for people to go ahead and vote for Clean House 2025. But why would they leave the house if it was such a low voter turnout already and vote for somebody that they don't want in that seat? That's the part I don't get what she's saying. Like, who?
Well, I'm laughing too because when you said that, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was trying to understand the rationale of what she said because I'm like, then if that's the case, why not just wait until the
April
general
1st.
election and vote for her? If you don't like either one in the
Mm-hmm.
primary, you would wait to vote for the person who's going to win or the person who's going to run against her if you don't
Mm-hmm.
want the two. So that was weird, but
It didn't make sense what she just said, but she doesn't make sense of a lot of things that she say.
I want to go through a little bit more what she said because there's some more that's interesting that she had to say. So
You guys have gotten rid of Tiffany. Now it's time to get rid of House. It's time for him to go because I don't believe with my whole heart that he is good for this village. A lot of you all have been groomed to think that they have been the good guys, that they have been fighting. Well, hell, they the ones started the fight and created the fight. So let's not forget that. And I will not let the people in the village of Dolton forget that these are the people that ran on Tiffany's ticket. These are the people. See, they call me the Tiffany plant, but you will never find a video, you will never find a
let me go
conversation,
a little bit further.
numerous of videos about what you have been doing.
No, what they
Hmm.
want to do is run on transparency and try and fix what Henyard has broken.
Yeah.
Now, you do have other politicians that do have multiple job duties within political careers or whatever. But when it comes to the Dolton trustees, that's not what their agenda is. Their agenda is basically to fix Dolton and what Tiffany Henyard has destroyed in the village of Dolton. You want to call them corrupt and you want to say, oh, well, I have videos of this. The same thing Tiffany Henyard been saying. Remember the 2 receipts that she possessed when it was towards the end of the election, where she say
Right.
that
No receipts.
Jason House signed off on a check for $100 and some $1,000 with whatever the thing is, but you never
Hmm.
gave any details on was the check cash cleared, who was it for, what was it for, who was it
Yeah.
to. You never said any of that. All you said was that he had control of the bank account and that he signed that check at that time. And we
Hmm.
don't even know if that is actually a valid check that he signed, because it looked like something that she could have transposed and forged and a receipt document thing herself. So we don't
Right.
know if that's allegedly the correct check figures that she's showing us. Does she not
Well, you know
understand?
what? You know what? Tiffany's last ditch effort was it was so late. But what I find interesting about, and obviously the results show that no one really was buying what she was trying to sell at the end. It was like
Nobody.
really desperate. But Cassandra's interesting to me because she's trying to essentially use this narrative to get in office, which I think is weird. So her narrative is that, all everybody else who was on Tiffany's ticket is all part of Tiffany. And I find it interesting because that's a hard sell. That's going to be a hard sell in Dalton. I think that's a hard sell for anybody who's paying attention to
Hello.
the story. So
Hello.
I'm wondering why she's going that route.
She don't
So
even have enough trustees on her own slate to remove the trustees that she would have to work with once she is elected as a mayor. So again, her whole argument or her whole idea on that whole process is not intelligent, because You still have to work with these people for the same amount of time that you will be in office.
But you know what though, Viv? Assuming that she did have enough trustees, just assuming,
Mm-hmm.
people vote based on, in my opinion, especially if you're talking about, municipal local election, they vote based on what they're experiencing and their opinion based on, you know, what it's looking like as far as the energy they're seeing from the candidates. And
Mm-hmm.
what I find interesting about her is that the first thing she's trying to sell, there's two things. The reason why I was playing that, there's two things that are interesting. One, she's trying to use the narrative that all the remaining trustees are all corrupt. That's one. And then the second one, she's talking about, I'm gonna play a little bit more of it before I finish up with her, but
Mm-hmm.
she's talking about Democrats. So she's using the Democrat independent thing, not necessarily Democrat Republican, but she's using
Mm-hmm.
the whole Democrat thing, which I also
Mm-hmm.
find interesting, right? Because most people in local elections, in my opinion, they don't really look at the D and the R the way the
Right.
national elections are. They don't really look at Democrat Republican. In local elections, it's not really about that. You know what I'm
Nope.
saying? Like, I don't think anybody ever questioned whether Tiffany is a Democrat. She just was a bad mayor. Period. You know what I'm
Poor
saying?
choice.
You can tell me if I'm wrong, but
No, you're right.
the conversation of Democrat Republican hasn't really been a part of any of the coverage, whether it be the news, content creators,
Nope.
anybody. That's not really part of the discussion. But I see that she's trying to use that as a narrative. So the last piece I just want to play real quick.
I want you guys to know and understand this dude has been a trustee forever. What is he going to do as a mayor that he couldn't do as a trustee? What have they brought to the village being in those trustee
Lead.
seats? And now that you want a mayor seat, what are you getting ready to do different?
Lead.
I've been here for 17 years and I have not seen anything that you have produced. It is time for the people to wake up.
Okay,
Black
right.
people, wake up. White people, Hispanic people, wake up and stop buying into the hokey doke. The Democrats have been robbing you guys blind for years. You let J.B. Pritzker pimp you guys out and you pimp your congregation out to keep the vote for him. Let's talk about the real truth. A lot of these folks, I'm going to say it until the day I cannot say it no longer. They are crooked. And it's time for them to go. It's time for a change. Stop doing the same old stuff and then expecting new results. Stop recycling the same old people and then you expect a new result. It's stupid. It's ignorant. It's backwards.
There's a couple of things that I'll let you rock out.
Oh, I got so much to say.
Obviously, she has a lot to say about Jason House and the trustees, but the other part that was interesting, the whole she's going to the Democrat conversation. And look, I'm all for browbeating people when it's needed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not adverse to browbeating people, our community when it's needed. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes we need that. But I don't think you do that to get votes. Browbeating ain't gonna work if you're trying to get votes. That's not gonna work. So anyway, my whole point is that she's using the Democrat conversation and having that conversation on a national level. We could do that because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people had that conversation when Trump and Kamala ran. There's a lot more room for that conversation. In Dalton, there
Right.
ain't enough room to have that conversation.
No.
So what do you think about two things? What do you think about one about her? Because her claim is that Dalton was already in debt, and it was before Tiffany came in, it was already in debt, and she's kind of saying that Tiffany didn't make it much worse. It was already going bad, and obviously she's saying they were all part of one ticket. So, what do you think about that? And then her whole idea of browbeating the voters into feeling like, well, y'all voted them in, because she keeps doing that, and I don't know if that's a good strategy.
So when you look at the financials that Lori Lightfoot put out there, it shows you the basic budget that they had when Riley Rogers ended his term and when Tiffany Henyard started. It shows what the accounts was at that present time, and then it shows the spending. So I don't know what information or details that she have that proves that Riley Rogers is the one that put us in this deficit and not Tiffany Henyard. I would absolutely love to sit down with her and see what she have that proves that this is a Riley Rogers deficit and not
Hmm.
a Tiffany Henyard deficit. You have to look at the actual numbers and you have to look at the proof that was provided to the public. And Lori's Lightfoot investigation, why would she not implicate that we started off in a deficit if those were not the real numbers that were not given to her? Now you got to understand that Keith Freeman has been on board with helping with this investigation when it comes to our financial transparency. So he's been very helpful with Lori Lightfoot and answering the questions that she needed in order for her to yield the results that she gave to everyone, not
Hmm.
just the team, Clean House 2025, but it's an email that was sent out to everyone. Did I send you that financial finding report?
I no, I don't think you did. I
I'll
don't think you
email
did.
it to me. Text me. I
Okay.
have your email address. So when we get off this call, I'm going to actually email it to you. And then that way you can look it over and then we could discuss it on the next time that we meet up and chat.
Okay.
Because it's very important for you to see what Lori Lightfoot was displaying to everyone, for you to look at each line item to see where we were in a plus, when we had a surplus, and then when we became a deficit, where the
Okay.
deficit started. So everybody knows about Tiffany Henyard's mismanagement of funds. Everybody knows how she's been misspending for leases for vehicles. She's been misspending for police overtime. She's been misspending. And remember, the police overtime started with Alexis Wilson.
Hmm.
Can't forget that.
Yeah.
Because of Alexis Wilson and her unalivened, that's the reason why the police security detail started with Tiffany Henyard.
Right.
Since
People don't know
then,
that. That's a
this
good.
is
That's a
four
good point.
years later, and we're still uncovering exempt employees that were on police payroll that actually were getting overtime spending. Remember, you're an exempt employee. Exemptions is a status that you should not be able to override and still give that person overtime, because either you're hourly or your salary. That now you get bonuses. That's something that people that are exempt get. But for overtime pay, that's not part of an exemption status. So how was it that those police officers, and it's multiple, not just like one or two.
Hmm.
Many police officers that was underneath Henyard's leadership was able to get excessive overtime spending. You saw that one check where the police officer got $15,000.
For one pay period.
Absolutely. What? How was Lacey able to get overtime? Lacey was deputy chief.
Well, let me ask you a question on that, Viv. Let me ask you a question because
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of, I think when people watch the how things rolled out for Dalton, I think a lot of people sit back and they say, okay, Tiffany did this, Tiffany did that, Tiffany spent this, Tiffany spent that. And I think it's important, to your point, people should understand that it's not her physically allocating the money. My understanding is that she created a government where it allowed for other people to allocate money and
Yep.
spend money in ways that wasn't going to be checked, and then the trustees are supposed to be checking on that,
Check and
and the
balances.
trustees in a lot of places couldn't see it, so she
Mm-hmm.
allowed for things to happen. So because I think towards the end, with Tiffany Henyard I'm speaking about, towards the end she tried to say like, well, I didn't spend any money. It was other people. She actually said in
That's
one of
how.
the
Yeah,
interviews,
that's
she
that's how
said,
she gonna sum it up in court. Yeah.
well, remember she said in one of the interviews, she was like, well, who can keep track of every employee that they have? That's what she said.
She covered
And
her tracks.
yeah, and that's an interesting way to go about it. But at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
it's like people are being enabled to do things that you're not stepping in on because you're the mayor.
And remember,
So
she said, next time when I get into office, I'm going to do a better job of double checking behind the employees that I hire to make sure that they are better qualified for those roles. That was her
right.
trying to also say, I know I messed up. And I know that I hire all of these unqualified people because mostly everybody that she hired was not qualified for the positions that she put them into. But
Well, here's the
including,
question though.
but if you're not qualified as a leader, how could you take your job serious and put other people into those positions that are serious about those roles? It's not going to work because she doesn't understand how to run and be a leader, if that makes sense. Like, she does not
No, no, it makes
understand
sense.
the supervisor position, the supervisor roles, and she didn't understand everything that it entailed. And for that, she was unqualified, and she failed us as a supervisor, and she failed us as a mayor in the village of Dolton. She wanted everything Tiffany's way. And instead of listening to the voters and instead of understanding that some of the things that she was doing, we were dead set against, she didn't care, and she talked to us like she didn't care. And we showed her that we didn't care for her any longer when we just voted her out. And then Cassandra asked a question. She said, what can Jason House bring to the village of Dalton? Well, first out, once we get him voted into that seat after the April 1st elections, we will see exactly what his full plan is. But he has a plan on running on transparency. He wants to be open and honest and speak to the people about what's going on, what concerns they have, what issues they have. He have to look at all of Tiffany Henyard's failures. In order for him to get in there in day one, he have to have a list of the things that they have been fighting against for the last 4 years. Do you know
Hmm.
how long that Excel spreadsheet probably is of the
Oh
things
yeah.
that she have done that is corrupt? He have to start basically from scratch because none of the things that Tiffany Henyard did when she was in that role was correct, including not having cow meetings. Remember, we're supposed to have those meetings every um second Monday of the month, so that if we do have a request for a proposal and we do have business that want to come into the area, so that way everybody can be in on a conversation on the
Hmm.
note of what's going on Dalton. But she
Okay.
doesn't do any of that because she's not a good leader. She didn't understand the role, the qualifications for the job that she applied for. She just was so lucky to get into it because COVID. I think that COVID had a lot to do with us not vetting her like we could have.
Yeah, it was a good time for her to kind of slip in there, you know. Well, let me ask you, do you think that her leadership allowed people to just do things as far as overspending or mismanaging money? Do you think that's something that people wanted to do anyway, and they just saw a leader who was like, okay, we could turn up on we could turn up on spending this money? Or do you think she instructed people to do things in a certain way? You know what
I
I'm saying?
think it was under the instructions and leadership of Tiffany Henyard. I don't think, and well, and some other people, like, yeah, let's be honest, Keith Freeman, I think when he came in on bullshit. Excuse my
Right.
language, but when he came into office, remember, he had just left Robbins and he
Mm-hmm.
robbed Robbins for $90,000. So when
Mm-hmm.
he came in, he knew that he was going to be hired to help rob the village of Dolton. Keith Freeman actually made a video talking about what led him and God led him to Dolton and all of this because he knew that he had a conversation with Tiffany Henyard at some point, and they were on board together after Dorothy Brown left to for him to step in and do even more damage than what she was trying to do before she left. So this
Well,
this
you
was
know what, and
pre-planned.
I try to give people an understanding because I think Dalton, this happening for Dalton was not a blessing for Dalton, but it was a blessing for this conversation as far as
Right.
local politics. I think things have changed a lot. Whether people agree with Donald Trump or not, this administration has opened the conversation of government spending. So we can agree or disagree, but this whole Doge thing and looking into what's being spent is at least at minimum, I always say, a conversation. We can get
Absolutely.
emotional about it, but comparing it to Dolton. So I try to tell people sometimes that, so when it comes to local town spending, and I just want to get your opinion, the oversight is not as heavy. So the tax dollars come in, and that's what people have to understand. It's just tax dollars coming in. That's the revenue the town takes in, amongst some other things, but mostly it's tax revenue. And then that money's allocated different ways, and it's supposed to be managed by multiple parts of the government
Hmm.
of that municipality. But my point is that the money, there's not the same oversight as there is in Washington. And even Washington has oversight, but it's so clunky and big that you can still
Hmm.
mismanage stuff. But in Dalton and other small towns, people have to understand that if you have somebody at the top who is letting things rock, who the residents gonna call? You ain't got no Congress.
Nope.
There's no, you know what I'm saying? There's no Congress, there's no Senate.
There's no real checks and balances when it comes to the mayor, and that's what we learned the hard way after this administration that is in office now, is that once you get a mayor into that position and that mayor has the power, unless your recall efforts do work, you are going to be in distress for the full duration of that mayor's term until you vote them out. That's the
Yeah.
sad part about leadership, because we need to be able to recall anyone, and I'm going to say this again, in any elected position that is doing wrong by the public, meaning mismanagement of funds, if they're not catering to what the needs of the community is, if they get into that role and just are an embarrassment to the community. We need to be able to pull those people out of that role, because a mayor position, we should be able to look up to that person. That person in that leadership role should be able to communicate with the public. You should be able to be transparent. You should be able to give a plan and be able to follow through. If you have some parts of your plan that might not work out, hey, communicate that with the residents. Communicate that out
Right.
with us. Let us know, hey, I tried to do this, but this is the reason why this and that didn't work. But we're going to try it a different way. But you still have,
Well,
this
what do
is what
you
I learned as a manager. You always,
do you
even
think that there
if
should be a
you
recall
fail,
every 2 years, Viv?
I
I'm
think
sorry, I
that
mean to
it
cut you
should
off. Go
be a
ahead.
recall within the first 365 days. If they
Okay.
are not, if they are not doing right by what they're supposed to do when they took that oath for that role, I think that they should be able to be recalled. But you have to have a reason, right? You can't just say, I don't like her dress is blue, let's get her
Right.
out of office. But you have to have, and you have to have enough residents, enough signatures to be able to go and get that recall. That way, on the next general election, you can actually put that recall question mechanism on the ballot to ask the residents, and then they should be able to vote on whether or not this person stays or vote on whether or not this person goes. That's my thought
Okay.
process on going
Within the
forward
first
for
year.
all
Okay.
positions, not just mayors. It should be for every elected, even for school board. Our school boards are run horribly now. We have so much mismanagement of funds inside of these school boards that is not even being talked about or looked at. The superintendents are making like almost a $500,000 a year.
Listen,
You
you know
understand
what?
what I'm
I'm so
saying?
glad. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm not saying that. I wasn't saying, but I'm just saying like that's ridiculous for them to be making that much money over a school board, and our kids aren't learning.
It's crazy because again, like I'm so glad you're saying this because it's so important. And all those positions within the town, school board, superintendent, you know, these are some positions that I think most people are not thinking about. So I do love the fact that people are starting to become aware. Even for me on in the East Coast, in East Orange, we had an issue with a huge deficit in the school board. We just got a new superintendent last year, and from what I see, he's a good guy. He came into some mismanagement by the previous superintendent. So they had to
Mm-hmm.
let go about almost 100 teachers in East Orange back in December. And
Okay.
some of them were teachers and counselors who had just got hired in August. So we're talking about people
Were
who
they
had
like
just got
special
hired.
services teachers or like regular studies teachers?
Yeah, well, they were like they got rid of a lot of counselors,
Okay. Okay.
behavioral counselors, for what I understand, um, tutors and some teachers and some coaches.
Gotcha.
So but they just couldn't afford it. If they kept them on they were saying by the end of the year they wouldn't be able to make payroll. So,
Gotcha.
but at the end of the day, luckily some funding came in from the state that was needed. So funding came in and they were able to just recently bridge that deficit. But point being is that a lot of people are not aware of a lot of things until it's too late. So Dalton is the extreme, and I think it's definitely a teachable moment for most people to understand. Like, you got to know what's going on in your town. And when I look at going back to Hopsin-Jordan for a second, what I think is interesting with her talking about mismanagement or spending, right? So this is a conversation we're having on the national level, like I said. And right now there's a big fight between, people who don't like what Donald Trump is doing and then people who like the fact that, okay, the Democrats, who have been in power and just government in general about,
Mm-hmm.
are these jobs needed? Is there mismanagement? Is there funds that don't need to be spent? Now, putting that in relation to Dalton, Cassandra's point, she's saying that, okay, all these people are robbing you in these positions, and the Democrats are doing this, Democrats are doing that. And what I really think about Dalton, if you ask me, is that it's not about party. It's just really about having the right leaders there to say, you know what, we got to run this town, and we have to make sure just the things you mentioned. Officers should not be getting $15,000 a pay period for
No,
overtime.
ever.
So it's like Tiffany created an environment where you could just run it up.
Yeah.
And everyday people, even though you think everybody's going to be good and above the board, sometimes even people who are good and above the board, if the inmates are running to jail, what I'm saying? It's like,
Hello. Like her
people.
employees that first started off that, got 13 kids. How do you have Airbnbs, like three or four of them, however many he have under his
Yeah.
belt? And Airbnbs is not even supposed to be regulated in Dalton, but you were promoting that you have Airbnbs that people can rent. Like, at least wait till she get out of office to go ahead and try and brag on what you gained financially from our mayor and our tax dollars. Because,
Yeah.
and when it all said and done, that wasn't done legally. I'm sure I can bet my bottom dollar on that Airbnb and whatever else dealings that she was doing. She been giving favors her whole entire mayorship.
Hmm.
That's how people have been coming up. So yeah, they
Right.
can do what they want to do when they want to do it. And not only that, she's giving all type of kickbacks to her employees. Look at how many employees that was actually on the township payroll for checks. Does that make sense? Like, you have people getting double paid, but then you think the residents are stupid. That's what you want us to be. Like Cassandra said, people are just stupid. People are this. People are hooping and hollering. First off, if you want our votes as a leader, you shouldn't be calling anybody dumb or stupid, because
Yeah.
you are the one that's campaigning for my vote. I don't
Right.
need your vote because I'm not campaigning for any office. So for you to come off as arrogant as she did, calling people dumb and stupid for celebrating Clean House 2025, saying that, oh, well, we celebrating Tiffany downfall. Again, nobody's celebrating her downfall. What we're celebrating is that our voices finally mattered. Our vote finally counted. We was not suppressed in our vote, and we were able to vote into leadership who we thought would be the best fit. Now, what I hope happens is that everybody that she's calling stupid come out and vote April 1st and make sure that she loses by 100%. I know she's gonna get a couple of votes sprinkled in, sprinkled there, but I'm praying that people come out and show her that we don't need her, we don't want her, we can't afford her in Dolton. You see what Tiffany Henyard just did to Dolton. Can you imagine her and her hard-headed self unwillingness to work with the trustees? How it would be day one with her in that office?
Well, I think where she missed the mark, though, where she missed the mark, and it's been months now. I've been, we talked about her before, and I've been trying to pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to see what she's doing. Where she's missed the mark is that she's focused on Jason, and just focused on, oh, they're part of the same team as Tiffany. Even if you're gonna make that point, you got to move on. You got to start
And
talking
then she
about
got a
what you
crush
would
on
do.
Jason.
So she, I, listen, I, listen, I don't know. I don't
It
know.
just made so much. I'm like,
But
did you really
she
think that
hasn't
Jason
presented
is cute?
anything that
She
she can
can't.
do. And
She
and I
can't.
think that's the most important thing. I never seen anybody campaign like that. So that's the thing that's strange to me is that, if you're
Because
gonna
this is a paid
campaign,
performance. She's getting paid. Tiffany Henyard is sending her scripts. Okay, you have to go live today. On your live, you need to touch base on this, and this. Like, she is getting scripts from Henyard on how to run this campaign.
mm,
And Henyard is giving her, she's probably going to start doing dumb videos like what Tiffany was doing at the end that was
now that I can't
bad.
see.
And you can't prove. But remember, she said, I have a video and I'm going to show you guys. Remember, she was trying to say that the trustees don't even live within the village of
Oh,
Dolton.
okay.
So, like,
Okay.
she's trying to run a slanderous campaign too. They haven't even really addressed her. My thing is, I probably talk about her, and the other YouTubers talk about her more than the trustees because the trustees already know that
No, the
she,
trustees haven't said nothing about her. I haven't
not
heard.
really, because they know that she's not really a threat.
I mean, to be honest with you, that's why I was saying from the beginning when Jason won the other night, it seemed like he won as mayor because no one's talking about her at all.
No.
And it'd be interesting just to see what she has to offer. But I think that she has to. Campaigning is about highlighting your strengths and the
Absolutely.
things you're going to do. Obviously, it's you want to knock your opponent. That's just part of politics. But you also have to highlight your strengths, and I don't think she's
Come
highlighted
up
any
with a
strengths.
plan, sis. If she can't, like, remember, she did an interview on Jedediah's live before. Remember when she did that interview and she was like, well, I don't really have a plan. The first thing I'm going to do when I win office is take a shot. And I just want the residents to know that I probably would give the village of Dolton to the state. She don't have a plan on how to effectively be a mayor. So
Yeah, looks
therefore,
that way.
we cannot put our trust into someone that is very flaky like that. Not only that, but she is a plant for Tiffany Henyard. I'm gonna keep saying it because until she proves otherwise, that's my thoughts, that's my opinion. And she doesn't go out and vote in a lot of the elections that she's complaining about. You're complaining about tax dollars, you're complaining about housing, you're trying to say that a clean house wins, then you might not have a house. First off, that don't even make sense because our tax dollars that we vote on, they didn't even vote to raise the taxes this year. Remember, that
Hmm.
was Tiffany's biggest thing, trying to get that extra tax money, and
Hmm.
they voted no to a
Right.
tax hike increase. So again, you are giving people misinformation, probably because she don't come to the meetings. You have to show up and actually pay attention to the meetings to know what they voted for and what they voted against. So for this year's increase, there will be no tax increase for this year because the trustees voted no
Right.
again. But you let her tell you, you're going to lose your house if you don't vote for her. No, you're going to keep your house if you don't vote for her. most likely
Well,
because she don't even understand what's going on with the taxes.
she seems very angry,
She
and that's the
is. That's why I said
she
I think
seems
she got a
very
crush on
angry.
Jason, and he's just not going.
You think she got a
Sorry.
crush on Jason?
You know how you got that one boyfriend that you really like, but that's the popular kid, and
Well,
everybody else is going for that. Like,
it's a lot more easier ways to holler though if you want to holler. You know what
I'll
I'm saying?
just play. Let me stop for that and get out here. But what I'm saying is she's angry because I call her a plant originally. That's what's pissing her off is because this campaign that she's running, she has to prove that she's not a plant every time she opens her mouth and talk. And nothing that she has said since she has started this campaign has alluded that she is not a plant. Everything that she says is in Tiffany Henyard's favor, most likely. But until now, because now she's trying to use the corruption, but now she's trying to say that the trustees are the ones that's corrupt. Remember, you're not even trying to point the blame at Henyard. You're trying to point the blame at the trustees. The trustees don't run the day-to-day operations. Neither does Henyard. Henyard say that all the time, that she don't even
Right.
run the day-to-day operations. So how can the people who vote on the actual finances of the village be the ones that's actually corrupt and taking the money? That makes no sense to a normal person that understands government. She
Well,
don't understand
her thing is
government
they're all
enough.
in one.
You can't be
That's the
all
thing.
in one when their names is not even on any of the federal subpoenas. Remember, a new
Right.
federal subpoena just came down for Kamal Woods, Tiffany Henyard, and the St. Patrick's Restaurant. The
That's a good
sale
point.
of that building.
Tell people about that because I don't think people are tapped in on that. I just saw that indictment come down,
So,
or subpoena rather. What is the tie-in with St. Patrick's Restaurant?
so the tie-in with the St. Patrick's Restaurant is that Tiffany Henyard sold that property to Kamal Woods. It was an animal hospital. She sold that property to Kamal Woods for $80,000.
Hmm.
Kamal Woods then turned that property, well, took the property and turned it around and sold it to the St. Patrick's Investment Group for $200,000. So when he sold that property to the St. Patrick's for $200,000, that's when, remember, they started building that restaurant. So like I said, it was a lot of people that have been Team Tiffany that have possibly gotten kickbacks. I don't know what the St. Patrick's deal was when they bought the place from Kamal. I don't know if you know, but they have a liquor store called the Emporium Liquor Beverage Depot or whatever. It's right across adjacent parking lots from, so like this on the left side is Kamal Woods Car Wash, and then right across the street in the next like little lot, it's the Emporium Liquor. So I'm sure they knew each other just from being neighbors. But I don't know like where that friendship came in with Tiffany and Tiffany. That's one of the interesting things that I would like to understand a little bit more about. I do understand that when you're trying to be in business, sometimes you have to be nice to people that you
Of
normally
course.
wouldn't be nice to. That much
Right.
I do know.
Of
Sometimes you
course.
got to play the part to try and get what you need and then get the hell out of there. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that that's what they did. I think that with them being so nice and so unsuspecting to Tiffany Henyard, they were able to get their business, buy their business, and make sure that nothing that they did going forward after they signed those papers had anything to do with Tiffany Henyard and Kamal Woods. And therefore, the way that the property was originally acquired, I think that's what's under investigation. I don't
Gotcha.
know necessarily that the St. Patrick's have anything to do with the actual subpoenas. I don't know like how that's going to play out, but I
Just the
really am
transaction.
interested to see how that property was actually acquired and sold to Kamal Woods. I think that's the issue.
Now, was the property owned by the village or
I
Tiffany
believe
personally
so.
owned the
From
property?
what I've been told, it was owned by the village. Yeah, it was village owned
Okay.
property for sure.
Now I'm just
Yeah,
speculating.
and
I
that
don't know
whoever
for
owned
sure,
that
but
animal
do you know
hospitals,
how long Oh no,
Well,
I'm
we've
sorry. Go
had,
ahead.
I don't know if you remember when we had that animal hospital, but that was some years back when that
Yeah,
place actually used to be open.
I
So
remember that.
when they left the community, I believe that it was on the village tax roll, and I think that that's how Tiffany saw it and was able to get it. And I think that because they were having talks about opening up a restaurant, that's why she was able to get it and sold it to Kamal at that low price. So
Do you
they
know
had
how
already had
long?
this planned.
Do you know how long Kamal had that property before it was
Not,
sold?
I don't think he had it too long. I think he bought it and then basically called himself flipping it.
Because you can always do a Well, I'm just speculating. I don't know. He could have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know wholesaling is illegal in Illinois now, but at one point, you could just wholesale it where he had a contract for 80,000 and
Mm-hmm.
sold. Had a an open contract to purchase it, and then you could sell the contract to the next person. At a
Yeah.
profit. So it could have done that
That's
too. I'm just
what, and that
speculating.
probably what happened because they thought that they came up by making $120,000 off of the property, but in the end, the building actually came out to be a nicer asset than what they thought was going to happen. So
Hmm.
now, they probably pissed off and mad. That's the reason why Tiffany didn't want to sign the liquor license for them. Remember when they went to court and
Okay.
she refused to sign the liquor license? That was because she don't want them to open. She don't want them
Hmm.
to be successful because she wanted that building, just like she wanted the free and deed market building. That whole where the premier used to be.
Hmm.
That's actually where the trustees campaign office is at. She was
Okay.
trying to steal. Dr. Scott owns that building. And
Right.
what she was trying to do was take it from her by not approving her to open. So
Hmm.
when you have a huge structure and you're paying money on it monthly and you can't open it, you can't utilize it to make any money or any profits or anything, that will make you go into foreclosure.
Right.
That's what Tiffany pay to play era was. She would just try and force businesses to go into foreclosure, like Pepe's. Remember, we had Pepe's out here for years.
A long time. Yeah.
And because they didn't want to pay to play with her, she forced them out of business. So it's
So
a
these are
lot.
the so these are the things that I think that Cassandra's trying to tie to Jason and the current trustees,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that
But she
it's
can't.
unfortunate that she's even going there because you got to show what you're gonna do, and I think that Tiffany Henyard's era is gonna be something I think people look back on and say, "Yo, this is like this is like what we don't ever want, but we know what to look for." You know what I'm saying? So
Oh my
it's
God, I think it was Cooking with Frank that said, anything that Tiffany Henyard do, just do the opposite of it.
do the opposite. No, that's a fact. That's a fact.
It's like
I never
she just can't get right.
I never saw somebody with such a bad. I mean, who? I don't know if she had PR, but somebody need to help her with PR. It's almost like she was trying to destroy herself.
So Dr. Nikita was her, I guess you want to call her chief of staff, but she was
Hmm.
one of the people that was very instrumental in the beginning in helping Tiffany build her brand, helping Tiffany with her, how she comes off to the world, right? Helping
Yeah,
her make sure that the things that she's saying is not egregious. That we can fact check a lot of the things that she's saying. She was keeping her
yeah,
on point, right?
of course.
But of course, that relationship didn't end well because Tiffany does not listen. You have to understand that Tiffany stresses anybody out that she is supposed to listen to. She does not want to play well in the sandbox with others because she wants to always be the one to have the say so and to be right. Even with her attorneys, you see how she speaks with her attorneys, even when they tell her she's wrong. And you see lately they've been speaking out a lot against her. At
Yeah,
the beginning, they wasn't doing that so much, but now they're speaking out against her. And instead of her listening, she just, I don't believe you guys. You don't know what you're talking about. As if they didn't go to school for their
right.
law degree. Like, this is
Right.
what they study. This is not your field of study. You can't even spell. So how can you tell somebody that's a little bit more educated, a lot bit more educated than you, that they're not telling you what's right and what to do
Hmm.
when it comes to the way that you're interacting with the public and the things that you're saying that are just stupid. I mean, that's the only way you can describe it. Is the things that she says sometimes out her mouth is just stupid and it's baseless and it's no fact checking, and you're gonna get yourself in trouble by keep repeating and keep asking people to do things that you know is not
Yeah.
I don't know, productive.
Well, what
So
do you think is so it's interesting now because there's the board meeting tomorrow,
I
right?
can't wait.
So this man, you know what? Listen,
And you
I
got to get
thought
this up before tomorrow so we can talk again after tomorrow's meeting.
I thought the meeting after the brawl was going to be awkward, which he didn't show up to. But this has got to be strange. Like this got to be
Whew.
really strange because you got destroyed at the camp at the you got destroyed on campaign night, and then you go back because she's still mayor for another two
Till
months,
May.
right?
Yeah.
So I wonder how that's going to be going into a board meeting.
Did you see her campaign party after her failure party rather?
I didn't. I was trying
Only
to.
people that was there was Ben Bradley from Fox 32. She had a lady sitting in the audience and the DJ, and like a couple more people that showed up, popped in and popped out. But how do you not even show up to your own campaign party? To at least thank the couple people that did show up and support you. You did have at least 500 some votes. So out
Now
of
you
that
know
500, you had about 5 people there. You could have at least showed up
you
and
know
thanked
she ain't gonna
them.
show up to that because if she shows up to that, it's gonna be all on the news and they're gonna show that big empty room. It's probably better just not to show up. You know what I'm saying? So
If I was there, I would have knocked all that shit over because how you not gonna show up? And I done voted for you.
oh man,
Let me stop.
Dalton,
but
Dalton, Dalton, man. Well, you know
but
what?
we gotta talk again,
We
definitely
gonna
after this meeting
yeah,
tomorrow, okay?
we'll talk again after the meeting. I definitely want to.
So we gotta make a bet. I say she not gonna show up. I don't think she gonna show up. What you think?
You know what? I almost think like she's not gonna show up too. But I mean, the meetings are they're two times a month, right? Every other
Once a
Monday.
month. Remember, we're supposed to have twice a month, but we
Oh,
don't have
okay,
it.
it's just once a month.
So yeah,
So
every first Monday of the month.
so technically, you got a meeting in March and you got a meeting in April, right?
Hmm.
So she's still mayor. So there's really no
She
reason for
probably
her
might
not
make
to
the
show up.
first meeting in May too. Let me see. When is the inauguration? That's a good question. I think I think the meeting in May is like her last. No,
The last
because the
official
next
one.
meet the first meeting it would be Cinco de Mayo. I don't know when the inauguration day was gonna be because the 5th is
Hmm.
that Monday, the first Monday of May. That's gonna be
Okay.
interesting. I have to
So
ask that question tomorrow.
I, I'm guessing that she will not show up. However, I don't think there's a real reason not to show up because nothing has happened but a campaign. But I think that you know what I won't put it past her. She might just show
Her
up and be,
pride,
one thing I will say is that she does keep up a good face and she
she
does
do.
have a good poker face most of the time. So I think she may show up. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't show up, and I also wouldn't be surprised if she did show up. You know, but it should
Right,
be interesting. So I want to get your take on it at the meeting because that has to be
right,
strange. And I know that
absolutely.
I no, I'm just being petty, but I love to see Kiana Belcher's face at that
If
meeting.
she show
I
up,
like to see the
I promise I'm gonna be right there in the front row because I have to see it too.
I just
Because
like to see
she
the
like to
energy
walk
between
up and
them
make a
two.
scene. So we always hear her heels before we hear her.
Well, it should be interesting. The last thing I wanted to get your opinion on. You know, it was interesting that I saw that the officer passed away who was involved in Alexis Wilson's murder. Um,
Hmm.
now,
Now he was not
R.I.P.
the
to his
shooter.
family.
He was the one
Not the
that
shooter.
he was the one
He was the
that
one on the driver's
punched her.
side.
Yeah.
Right. He was the one who punched her. So
Hmm.
I'm not celebrating anybody's death, but
No,
it's just interesting how things came about, and it happened. Didn't it happen literally on election day that
it
morning?
happened February 25th at about one something in the morning. I think it's like about 1:30 a.m. He was
Yeah.
driving. I guess he was fixing on a house that he has, and he was hit by, I don't know if he hit a semi or if the semi hit him. Nevertheless, he didn't make it. He was unalived, and it happened on actual election day.
Hmm.
Now, nobody's celebrating anybody's death. I would never say anything.
Yeah.
However, a lot of people feel karma is the reason behind that.
Hmm.
What people don't understand is Alexis Wilson has a lot to do with Dolton. Alexis Wilson's story was one of the first of Tiffany Henyard's failures, right? And Cara, which is Alexis' mom, she has been through a lot
Yeah.
behind what happened to her daughter. Her daughter's unalive, the skepticism from other people just saying like, oh, your daughter's lying, your daughter's this, your daughter's that.
Yeah.
She actually, throughout this process has become much stronger, a very strong individual because of the support of the village of Dolton and the
Hmm.
community just we have in Thornton Township, period. We have all became a very close, tight knit community due to Henyard's administration, whether it's
Hmm.
her as a supervisor or whether it's her as the village of Dolton mayor. But we all have suffered some way under her unqualified leadership and her
Yeah.
corruption. And
Yeah.
Alexis Wilson, like I said, is one of the ones that should always be mentioned and recognized because she is the reason why Henyard actually was able to approve so much police overtime
Right.
because she used that as a scapegoat to say that people were trying to threaten her and people were saying that they was going to do bodily harm to her, whatever her
Yeah.
reasons was behind it. She got it approved for so long, and
Hmm.
because she got it approved for so long under that reasoning,
That's where so much
Alexis
money
Wilson, what
started
happened to
running.
her was unjust. She did
Yeah.
not deserve it. And I know a lot of people was like, well, he's not the one, but he also have been accused of unaliving other victims' families as well. So it's
Yeah.
not just Alexis Wilson who
Fell victim to
who
this guy.
everybody was celebrating, and I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
celebrating, but
Yeah.
everybody is saying that it's karma. And you got to realize that that man and I'm just pulling this up because somebody sent this to me, but he have shot and killed at least one other person. We're not gonna say how many. We're just going to say at least one other person.
Not even a couple months ago. Might have been about a month or so ago now that I
Mm-hmm.
interviewed Kara, and it was interesting because, like you said, she shed a lot of light to things I didn't know about the case itself, even through our conversations. And I didn't realize, like you, to your point, I didn't realize how many other cases this police officer was involved in.
Absolutely.
And
And that's the thing about it. Everybody is saying, "Well, you guys are celebrating the him being unalive," and that's just not the truth. The truth is that it's a lot of families that have suffered behind what this officer have done to their family members that was unalive by this
mhm,
officer. So
Yeah.
people have to understand that I'm not even celebrating. I know that Hopsin-Jordan said people were celebrating Tiffany's demise. Nobody's celebrating that. What we were celebrating was the fact that we went out and voted and our votes count.
Yeah.
What people were saying about this officer was just that it's karma.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I can't agree, because you have to realize that, remember the $33 million lawsuit that Tiffany Henyard said that the board of trustees walked out on? That
Hmm.
was one of the murders that was attached to Officer Ryan Perez.
That was the high speed chase, right?
I believe so. Yes.
That left somebody like a paraplegic or something like that.
Yes.
And left him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
he was
like
involved in that.
he has been involved in a lot of things that have harmed and hurt a lot of families. So, and
Yeah.
nobody's celebrating anybody's death. No, that's not what but we also understand that what happened to him could have been a direct result of karma.
No, that's
And
a good point. That's a great point because karma is real, and I saw the same reaction. I didn't see anybody like celebrating per se, but when I did read the comments, people were just like, "It's karma coming back around." And
yes, every
when
comment I
you're
saw said that.
yeah, when you're a police officer, you're involved in a lot of deaths and a lot of controversial situations like that. Like you said, that hurt families. Then people aren't necessarily going to be sad when something happens to you,
No,
unfortunately. But I thought it was
no.
interesting that it happened on election day, though,
It was
of all
very
days.
interesting. And then we got our victory that we've been waiting for, which was Tiffany Henyard out of office. I'm going to keep saying that.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was very interesting, the timing of it, absolutely. But it's
absolutely.
also, it's unfortunate. I don't know his family. I don't know what they're going through, but I just know that the family members of the people that I know, they have they feel like they got a little justice, and I can't take that
Yeah,
away from them because they've
yeah,
been through it.
hundred
So
percent. Mm. Well, we're gonna see what happens. Dalton is definitely on the map for sure, and it's gonna be on the map long after Tiffany Henyard. And once again,
and next
congratulations
time,
to
listen, I'm telling my
yes.
guests this because I know I'm gonna put this on my platform. But next time, I want you to
Hmm.
come live on mine, and then we're gonna talk about you and your history with Dalton, right? Because
Yeah,
everybody always like, oh, you always talking to this person, and y'all have good conversation. But I want you to come on my platform so we can have a
yeah.
conversation about
Let's do it.
the history and what you've done in Dalton, growing up, your experiences here in the village of Dalton, because it's very
I love
important for
to.
people to understand our connection.
I love to. I love to. Yes. Next
Okay.
time we talk, I'm coming on your favorite survivors channel. I'm
Yes.
all for it. I'm ready. Love to.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate you
Yes.
taking the time to listen to me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Now listen, thank you, Viv, for coming on my platform. It's been, you know, you already know you've been so instrumental on the ground and just, you know, raising the noise so people can understand what's going on.
Yes.
And I appreciate you
It's been
bringing me into the
difficult. It's
fold.
been so hard. People don't understand. This has been a very hard journey. I've been beat up on. I've been through a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm a politician because of, just all of the mess that people target after me. But one thing I do want anybody to know is that I'm always going to stay strong, and I'm always going to stay part of the course. And you got to understand that I'm your favorite survivor for a reason, because I can take it all and I'm still going. I'm still strong, and we got this. So thank you,
Listen,
Dalton.
Viv,
Thanks to
you
everybody else.
listen. I also I'm gonna come on your platform because I'd be honored to, I wanna at some point talk about everything you've been through too, because I think people don't really understand. Like
No.
I'm just based on what the stuff you've gone through. I'm just impressed by you, period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
No, thank
you know
you.
what I'm saying? Like your favorite survivors, it's
And I'm
well
still
earned.
surviving. Like I haven't even told you the new stuff that's going on, but it's not. What's most important is Dalton. We cleaning house. That's
Yeah.
listen.
Well, I wanna talk about at some point we're gonna talk about your whole story, all the stuff
Yeah.
you've been through because I think it's extremely inspirational.
Hmm.
It's extremely inspirational. Just
Thank you.
your whole journey and just the
It's a
fact that you
lot.
even immersed yourself in this struggle in and of itself. It blows my mind.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But you know what? I'm gonna say this, and then I'll be done.
Mm,
This fight has helped me grow. It's molded me into a different person, and it's helped shape me for what I want to do next. So I wouldn't take away anything that I've been through during this fight. We still have to April 1st to get to our finished goal, but I wouldn't change anything that I've been through because if nothing else, I've learned and I've grown so much as a person. I've,
yeah,
I've, I've been able to, get people to actually subscribe and want to hear me talk. So just that part alone, it means a lot to me. So it's this fight has been a fight. It's been hard. I done cried. I done been through it all. I done been had threats, but I wouldn't take nothing away from it. I would not, because I've shown my children, out of everybody in the world, my children, they know that their mother have done something to help when it comes to Dalton. And that's all I need is just for my kids to be proud of me. As long as my kids are proud of me,
yeah.
that's par for the course again for me. So
That's what I'm talking about right there. Well, we're gonna chop it up some more. I appreciate
yes,
you coming on as always, and all
we
right,
got
we'll do the
this.
live. We'll do the live on your platform next for
All
sure.
right. Okay.
All right,
Talk
talk
to
to
you
you
later.
shortly.
All
All
right.
right.